Everything that you're going through or you're facing right now is preparation for your future, right? These moments that you're experiencing, the pain that you're feeling, right? These are to make you stronger, right? There's a bigger purpose that God has for you, right? But you have to experience this and you have to go through this, right? So He can prepare you for the future blessing that's on your way.
All right, Derek, man, we locked in, man. I'm glad that you decided to join me on this great Sunday. I know it's a lot of stuff that we can be doing, like napping or just relaxing, but you chose to have a conversation with me. I think you and I got a lot in common as far as in some of the things that we're interested in and that we're pursuing. So can't wait to kind of dive in this and kind of get an opportunity to share your story and where you're at. So, like, to start this thing off, I always like to go start from the beginning, man. If you can kind of just start off with your own personal journey as far as in how you became an athlete, sports you played, and then we can kind of build from there, man, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, man, first things first, man. My name is Derek Abekwe. I grew up in Houston, Texas. I come from a Nigerian descent background, so my parents are Nigerian. They moved over here about 32 years ago as immigrants. They made a pretty good living for themselves. I had about three sisters and two brothers. No, three sisters and one brother. I'm the youngest. And one thing my parents always did at a young age, and I think this was just so essential, especially being Nigerian, they always kind of instilled those backgrounds of just hard work, dedication, and just making something out of yourself, right? And I think that foundation has been, what has carried me, even during my worst moments, right? So I did play football. I was a star football player in high school, right? The thing about that dynamic was my parents put maybe like three of my siblings to schools. Um, as you may know, that's kind of hard, right? That's not
Yeah,
cheap, right?
for real.
I knew for a fact, I didn't want to depend on my parents to get me to school. So I made sure to go super hard in sports so I can get a football scholarship, and which I did, man, which was a true blessing. I ended up getting a football scholarship to New Mexico State where I played, and I had an amazing, first two seasons of my career, right? My first season, I was an All-American, honorable mention. My second season,
Hmm.
I led the team in tackles. I was a star player on the team. A third season, that's where some things went left. I would say my work ethic went a little bit down, and I already kind of, felt like, personally, I felt like, man, I'm doing good. I'm gonna go to the NFL. I already see the vision. A couple scouts hitting me up. I got agents hitting me up. At this point, I got really a little bit complacent, and I forgot that
Mm.
injury can happen. I ended up getting like this groin injury to start the season, man, and it was such a humbling experience because this was the first time in my college career that I had to one be out, but two really sit on the bench and watch. When I came back, I wasn't the same, and then I just got moved to the back of the depth chart. So
Yeah.
it was crazy kind of experiencing that, looking back on it, during that moment where, I went from being a star football athlete to not playing. I looked at it as a bad thing, but now I look back at it as that was the best thing that happened to me because during that moment is when I took entrepreneurship serious, right? Because I always told myself, okay, well, hey, I'm on the bench now, right? I'm not playing. And if this is what it's like not playing, then I got to be realistic with myself. And I got to realize, okay, there's a life outside of sports. And during that moment that I thought that, was the worst time of my life, that was the best time if I'm looking back on it, because now I got to open my mind up to what things are out there to be able to make a living off of outside of football. And that's why I looked into day trading, I looked into, vending machines, I started getting my own vending machines and stuff like that. And I was thinking, okay, well, how can I use my network that I already have and how can I use being a college football athlete to my advantage? So I ended up, contacting some boosters and things that people that, supported the New Mexico State football program. And, I got into some rooms where, I was able to talk to some owners of car dealerships. And I was able to put my vending machines in those car dealerships to start generating some income as far as passively and stuff like that. And that was all during that time where I wasn't playing, man. So that really kind of gave me that first introduction really to the entrepreneurship space. And it gave me the introduction to, okay, doing something outside of sports and having a realization that sports isn't everything, right? It's not my end all be all. I have to have a life outside of it. Got into that, man. And then, like I said, man, it went good. My senior year, I got injured again, right? and I had to sit on the bench again. So you got to think, this was a character development that God was putting me through, because I literally went from being a star athlete to, potentially getting a draft grade to being on the bench my senior year, right? And then my 5th year, I came back for my 5th year because I had that injury, that medical alert shirt. And then it's so crazy. I remember my 5th year to start I really worked hard that my 5th year, right? Because I told myself, hey, if football's not going to work out, man, I got to be able to put this thing to bed, right? So I'm gonna give it my all. I'm talking about upcoming my fifth season, right? Keep in mind, two years before that, I've been on the bench this whole 2 years. I said, hey, I'm gonna fight for, to be on the top of the depth chart. I'm trying to fight to get some playing time, because if I am going to try to pursue the NFL, this got to be it. So I'm telling you, that summer, man, I probably worked my hardest I ever worked. And then it was so crazy. At the start of the season, when we looked at the depth chart, I wasn't even on the depth chart. I was on practice squad. And you got,
That's wild. You went from All American to damn
bro,
near losing to Scally.
bro, I was on practice squad, and it was so crazy. And I remember it's so, so crazy during that time. I'm still, I wouldn't say I'm bothered, but I'm still affected from how I felt. I never can imagine the day I walked from the coach meeting office after we're going over, hey, this is the upcoming game plan for who we're facing. I forgot who we're facing at the moment. And then the depth chart. Once I seen that depth chart and I wasn't even on there, I'm telling you, my heart just dropped, bro. And then I remember I just thought to myself, it was so embarrassing, right? Because you got to think, I'm in a room full of people that are way younger than me now, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I literally went from the star defensive player on the team to my senior year, you know, on practice squad. It was the most humbling experience, and it's so crazy because it was like I remember, bro, I cried. That was the first time I cried my whole football career.
That sounds traumatizing. I don't mean to cut you off, but like I hear stories how catches get cut because they just get cut. You know what I mean? Or they get hurt and they're just done because they just can't play. But to be, and that what's so crazy is like you started off so strong. You was like what, preseason freshman or sophomore All American? That's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? And we understand injuries may set us back to where it's like, all right, I might have to back up this next person until I get back. And then I know my spot is good, or I might have to compete with the new guy. But to fall off the depth chart, bro, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, that's
It
wild.
was the most humbling. I'm telling you, like that was. I remember that day so vividly. I think it was September 4th, 2018. No, it was August 4th, 2018.
Okay.
It's so crazy. Once I seen it, because I'm like, bro, we're about to go to practice right when they put the depth chart out. I'm like, damn, I have to really go to practice squad with the practice, with the walk-ons, and what I'm saying, like, they just don't play. I remember I called my brother. Still to this day, I remember I called my brother, and my brother's my biggest supporter. I'm talking about, like, when I was in high school, my brother's literally put his like career on hold for me. He was training me when I was, kid, making me do all these drills when I was a
Yeah.
kid. He supported my, the football career more than I even supported myself. So everything I always did, I always called him, and I always kind of updated him what's going on. And it's so crazy. I called him, man, and bro, I didn't even want to go out there and play. You know what I'm saying? I was like, bro, I'm done with this. And then I remember my brother, he was like, Derek, this is just, another moment in your life. You know what I'm saying? And how you respond to it is just going to change everything in your future. Right? There's two ways you can go about it. You can go about it. You can bitch and complain, cry, and just give up on your dreams and give up on, the whole football thing that you've put your whole life into, just off one moment. Or you could say, okay, well, hey, I don't give a fuck what they're talking about. I'm gonna work my ass off, and I'm going to apply myself, and I'm gonna show up every day, and I'm gonna give it my best, and I'm gonna make some noise, and I'm gonna try to get back on the playing field and look for a miracle. He said, just know whatever you do, if you bitch out now, you'll be a bitch forever, bro. So this is
Yeah.
something you're gonna have to learn. What if you have a family? You know what I'm saying? What if you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta do it.
Yeah. He was instilling those principles early. What's the age gap between you and your older brother?
It's 2 years.
Damn, you had a lot of wisdom. This to be 2 years old, to be able to look at it from outside in. Yeah.
Yeah. So man, it's so crazy. I remember those words that he gave me, and I still use them to this day. And I thought about it, and I'm like, man, you know what? You know, adversity is going to always come in your life. You're always going to go through discomfort. Things aren't going to go your way. It's really just how you respond to it. And that was a moment for me, especially defining in my life, where I used it as motivation. And then shit, I showed up for the rest of the season. I think the second week, so I'm
Hmm.
talking about, like, I think the second week, four people went down. It was the most craziest thing in one game. And then next thing you know, I'm playing with the number one starters.
Just like that.
Just like that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it was only for one game, but
Yeah.
that was to me, that was God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was to show you that everything can just change in an instant, man. I didn't after that game. I didn't end up playing too much. It just didn't work out. So I sat on the bench practicing my whole senior year. Um, what came from that was a blessing. The team reached out from the CFL, right? So I started preparing for my pro day. You know, I didn't have no buzz or anything like that because I think I ain't played for the last 3 years.
No film. Yeah. Yeah.
Did my pro day. CFL team reached out. They said, "Hey, man, we seen what you did your freshman year, and we still want to take a chance on you." And it's so crazy. I got signed to a professional contract off of my freshman film, and I did not play the last 3 years, bro. Like when I tell you,
That's
God is so.
crazy.
I think about it, and it's so funny. All my teammates, nobody got the only one two people made it. This guy named Terrell Hanks, he made it to the Miami Dolphins, and a guy named Roy Lopez. He's like the starter for the Lions right now.
Okay.
And then a guy named Jason Huntley. But in my class, Terrell Hanks was the only person that made it and got a contract. Other than that, I was the second person, and I didn't play for the last 4 years. So it was crazy how God works, man. It was the craziest thing ever. And I'm still so thankful, you know what I'm saying? Because I always told myself, like, I don't care if football didn't work out. But for me to never get an opportunity to play professional, you know what I'm saying? I didn't, because I didn't want to be able to put it to bed. So what happened was after the season, I mean, after pro day and stuff like that, around May, they flew me out to Canada. I competed for a roster spot. I had the whole experience. And then it's crazy how God works. At my last day when I was getting cut, I didn't do too good when I was, up there in Canada. But on the last day I got cut, right? I'm literally in practice vividly. I remember I leave the practice, I'm at the locker room, I see a guy trading on his phone in the locker room. And I'm like, yo, what are you doing? And he's
Yeah.
trading. He's making like, I think he made like 1,000 or $800 in like 15 minutes. And I'm watching it. I seen him withdraw it.
Instantly got hooked, huh?
I said, it's so crazy. I said, God, this is not a coincidence. I know
Yeah.
you're doing it for a reason. And
Yeah.
I looked at the trading thing. I said, that's the future. I just know it is. The man
Wow.
paid $800 in front of me. He didn't have to talk to nobody. He didn't have to worry about, what I'm saying, he can make as much as he wanted. He was doing it at the freedom as far as he was doing it literally from his phone. I said, bro, that is the future, man, and I'm going to pursue that. So yeah, and then from that point on, I went back to Houston, right? Because I had to get a job. My parents forced me to get a job now because football just didn't work out. In the back of my mind, trading just was always back there. So that's how I started trading, man.
I like that. Before I get into training, because I know we're gonna really go down that rabbit hole. I do want to go back to what led up to this point because I see key moments that happened that you had to experience. But I mean, we're looking at it from a different lens because it's, we're a couple years removed from it. But I know a lot of athletes might be right now today going through what you had to go through. And we need to kind of give them some answers to the test on how to navigate. So the first thing I want to address, one, you being Nigerian and culturally, where a lot of times from a family standpoint you guys are forced to kind of be in a certain career, you know what I mean, doctor, lawyer, business entrepreneur. And a lot of times I hear stories about how you guys have to sneak sports and they don't accept it until you guys show your dominance, like, look, I'm already getting recruited, it's too late. You got to
So,
support me.
bro, it's so
Yeah.
crazy because like, my parents just didn't support this. They supported it enough to where they knew that's something I liked to do.
Hmm.
But every day in the back of my head, I would always hear, bro. give the sports thing up. Like focus on school, 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 school. But I was being logical, you know what I'm saying? I just wasn't the best student. I mean, I was a CB student. I wasn't bad. I just didn't like school, right? So I knew in the back of my head I was not going to get a scholarship. So I said, no, I can get a scholarship for sports. I know I'm pretty good at it. You know what I'm saying? For me, I realized, yeah, my parents didn't want me to pursue this, but
Yeah.
I knew the reward, and taking that stress off of them having to worry about me paying for college was a big deal for our family, man. Um, Nigerian parents are hard on you as it is, right? Because they just want the best for you, and they
Hmm.
kind of feel that, from a young age. But again, for myself, I needed to make that decision for myself and take that risk, and just make sure it paid off. And yeah, like I said, they didn't start supporting really until they saw the scholarship.
Right. So another thing I have experienced, like even when I was playing, and I was, had Nigerians and even Africans from other parts of Africa on our team, and you guys' mental approach to it. Like, not saying y'all didn't fall in love with the sport, of course you did, because you was willing to go with the sacrifice. But like you said earlier, your strategy, you guys looked at it as like, all right, this is just a vehicle that's going to grant me opportunity, exposure, and in between time, I need to shake as many hands or kind of figure out what the next step is going to be no matter what phase, this train stops. And I think I commend and I respect your culture for looking at it that way. I think now us, African Americans are starting to kind of realize that, like, look, maximize your platform no matter where you're at. But you saw it early. Like the moment you had to sit down, bro, you started hustling. You know what I'm saying? And it takes us a long time to kind of figure that out. Is that something that you just naturally had, or was that a conversation that maybe you and your brother or your family had about, being able to kind of pivot?
I've always been a hustler, bro. Like, I
Okay,
used to sell candy in high school to make money because my whole thing was, the way my parents raised me, they always gave me enough. You know what I'm saying? They'll give me if I see everybody getting 3, 4 Jordans for Christmas, I would get the bare minimum shoe, but it's the same shoe. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I've always, if I wanted the extra stuff, I gotta go buy it myself, right? So
got it.
the natural Nigerian hustle mentality was just in me because I didn't want to depend on my parents. I didn't want to put that pressure on them to get me things like that when they already gave me the necessities. They gave me a roof over my head. They give me food. So I just took it upon myself, really, man, to try to create sources of income to be able to make money, so I don't have to depend on people. Because I just don't like that. Me personally, I just don't like that, and I don't like making people feel like they have to do things. I just always just gonna do it on my own. So that was just the easy way for me because it came to my benefit. Because it was like, okay, well, shit, if football's not working out, then I gotta be making some money. I'm not gonna sit here and just be chilling. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I gotta use what I got. I gotta use this football. If I'm a football player and I'm out here signing autographs here, this is. I need some. There's somebody out there that needs to be purchasing something for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta use it to my advantage.
So, and you're the perfect example of what I've been trying to preach to these youth, and I want to use you in that story. So, look, check it out. I always tell them, like, at this point in time, if you were to call a CEO or somebody and say, "Hey, I'm such and such, I play on this team number," they're going to pick up and give you opportunity, and you're living proof of that because you were still playing and you were already finding out outlets. So, if you can kind of walk us through that experience or how it was when you came up with these ideas and you mentioned like you went to the car dealership and was like, hey, I got a business idea. Can you kind of like share that story and how seamless it was pretty much? Yeah.
Okay, so first thing I did for myself was I went on Google and I typed in what are the ways that you can make money. You know what I'm saying? Passively, right? Like, what's the best ways you can make money passively? Because we both know I can't really get a job playing sports in college, right? You don't have the time to. So to me, is how can I make bread without doing minimal work? I looked it up, man. They had vending machines, they had like ATMs, they had investing, trading. If you just go on Google and just type in, it's going to give you various number of things. So I thought to myself, I said, okay, well, you know, investing. I need to learn that, right? That's something I need to learn. trading. I didn't really know too much about it at the time. I just heard about it. I looked into that. I think for me, the main thing was I looked at the list of things and then I just tried everything, right? I tried it to my best ability. Some things didn't work out, obviously, some things didn't. But I thought to myself, okay, well, if I get this vending machine, that sounds like the easiest play because why? Because to me, it's just location. How am I going to get the location? I thought to myself, I said, well, we got all these people that come to the game that are literally looking forward to seeing us every single day. And we got boosters and all this stuff like that. There has to be somebody that owns something, or there's somebody that, has some type of power, right? And I can leverage the fact that I'm a football player and then be able to use something and make money from that. So I literally just went to all the boosters while I was on the bench during the games. I'll just start talking, making jokes with the boosters, this, and this. The ones that, those fans that are like, those guys that are like they're on the field with you, and and when you're playing, you don't really realize it. But then I sit back as a voter and realize how do they have all the time to
Yeah.
travel? You know what I'm saying? They travel
Yeah.
with the team. They're at every game. Like I thought to
Yeah.
myself, like, how do they have the time to do this? And I realized those are the people that I need to be talking to. So then, I started. While I'm on the bench right now, I can have a full conversation and enjoy the game like them to a certain degree. And now I started asking them, "Hey, what do you do?" And just small things like that, man. And next thing you know, they start saying, "Hey, I'm a car dealership. This and this. I do this company, this and this." And I think how I said, and then I'll ask them the question. I'll ask them. I said, "Hey, man, I know there's a life after football, and I want to be where you're at. You know what I'm saying? You or me, what would you do to start making bread?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a conversation starter,
Yeah.
right? And the thing about those individuals,
They love that question.
they love that.
Man,
They love
that
that
makes
because
them come alive, man. I'm telling you it does.
I'm going into their realm, right?
Hmm.
Deep down, they want to be a football player, knocking heads, doing what I'm doing. But this is their realm, so they feel enjoyed or excited to be like, "Oh man, this is how you do it. I got you."
Yep.
You see what I'm
Yep.
saying? And then, you know, I forgot the individual's name. He said, "Hey man, just come to the office, X, Y, and Z." I came to the office. He showed me. I said, "Hey man, if I just put a vending machine, I can give you 10% profit, X, Y, and Z." I started, running some numbers and stuff like that. And then, yeah, man, I took my FAFSA check. I drove down, maybe 50, I think 55 minutes, like an hour
Yeah.
out, go purchase my first vending machine. And then, I was getting food stamps. So I was getting food stamps at the time, right? I'll take the food stamps and load it up with, candy and then
Yeah.
resell it. You know what I'm saying? So now I was just doing that and it was going good. It's some extra income. And then I got another one. I did two. I had two going. And then, yeah, it was just some extra income to put in my pocket. And keep in mind, this is before NIL.
And I
Yeah, this is before all that. So, if as a college athlete, if you're getting an extra $700-800 a month, what I'm saying, you're not really working for it, man, that's a blessing. You know what I'm saying?
it is.
I was able to do a lot with that.
But man, it's so golden because, college at the end of the day, it's an experience for us to learn whatever our profession is going to be, right? And the reason, even though it was the amount that it was amount, you were already exercising your entrepreneurship, at that platform, but doing it in a controlled environment, i.e., if God forbid, if it would have went left, you still would have been okay because you're on scholarship. So like that's the time to kind of test things out, if that makes sense.
There's
And
no,
it just ended up working. Yeah.
yeah, worst case scenario, I'm just,
Yeah. So you making these moves, you got the vending machine, and I don't know if you notice or not, but you're already developing relationships with mentors. Because that's considered a mentor. You got a chance to sit down with somebody who's already professional and he kind of gave you some advice. And whether you knew it or not, he's a support system because he's watching you from afar and keeping tabs on how you are because you made that relationship. Are
Mhm.
you mature enough to realize everything that's going around you? Or are you still like in the back of your mind, like, I'm here to play football. I want to be a football player and play on Sundays. Where are you at mentally?
I still believe in the football dream. I completely am, football is what I want to do. I'm just in the meantime. I'm just making some bread and I'm just, just using my mind, right? But in the back of my head, I haven't fully just left out of the football, space. I really want to pursue football at a high level. It's just I was just going through some injuries, but during that time was a time for me to, okay, it changed my mindset, right? I was living life on a hiatus. I was kind of cocky a little bit. I think I just came off 2 seasons. I felt like I was irreplaceable. God brought me back to reality. He humbled me, and that opened my eyes to be like, okay, well, shit, can you know, football may not work out. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was the best thing for me because I woke my ass up into reality very quickly. A lot of people they don't get that. They play, they have that, and they realize that after year 5, year 4 when they're graduating. I got it at year 2. I got a taste, and it was a perfect taste because it wasn't a taste where it was a complete shut off. It was a taste of a temporarily okay. I got to sit and watch, and that taste that I was sitting watching it was so bad that I was like, I gotta have something outside of football. I have to do something
So
because
it woke you up immediately. It was almost like a shock. Yeah.
because to see how fast it can just switch. And it was the perfect because it wasn't a complete where, oh damn, I'm done. It was
Yeah.
just enough to wake me up to be like, okay, I'm halfway in, halfway out. I
Yeah.
see what it looks like when I'm out. Shit, I gotta do something about it. I can't.
Yeah.
When I'm out for good, it's gonna get scarier. You know what I'm saying? So it made me wake up a plan of okay, I switched my degree because I went from engineering, and then I'm not gonna lie to you. Once that season was going really good, my sophomore year, I switched that thing to arts.
Communications. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to the league, man. I'm going to league. I don't care what nobody's saying. I got scouts hitting me. Like, I know it. I'm going to league. Let's put all my emphasis on plan A. That brought me back down. And then once that season ended, I moved everything into it. I started working towards an accounting degree.
Okay. Okay. Now, what I want to know too, because we all go through that moment, is dark. Even though you making moves because just mentally you know how to not just sit still, emotionally or psychologically, we're in a dark moment.
Oh, for
How
real.
did you get out of that? You know what I mean? Was it your support system? Did you do something? I know you're a man of faith. I heard you mentioned, but like, what
It was
tools did you use to get out of that?
it was a dark moment because again, it's literally I seen the way people treated me when I wasn't playing. Like, it's crazy. And the thing about my journey was a little bit different than most is because I knew what it's like actually seeing the field and being a star player. And
Yeah.
then I know what it's like being chilling, at practice with the walk-ons, not getting no burn and then being on practice squad. God let me experience everything, right?
Yeah.
And it made me treat people better. Two, it made me appreciate the small things like getting reps with the ones or being in the rotation, right? Just small things like that. It made me appreciate because I got to see what it's like from both perspectives, right? Then then I got to see what it's like from completely just not playing and okay, I got to focus on school, right? So that the place it brought me to obviously was a very dark place, but with time I was able to get over it because I realized I had no choice to in order if I wanted to move forward.
That's mature. That's very mature.
At that time, I wasn't really too close with God at the moment, so luckily I had my brother that was kind of navigating me and helping me during those times.
And now that we're much older and mature, but what advice would you give someone that's young that's currently going through that right now, real quick, before we transition?
I would say that everything that you're going through or you're facing right now is preparation for your future, right? These moments that you're experiencing, the pain that you're feeling, right? These are to make you stronger, right? And there's a bigger purpose that God has for you, right? But you have to experience this and you have to go through this, right? So He can prepare you for the future blessing that's on your way, right? I stopped changing and stopped pointing the finger at myself for getting mad at the cards I was dealt with. And I realized and I changed the mentality to why not me? I'm the person that can handle it. I'm the one in the family that, can change everything. I know my route is harder than most people, but because my purpose and my calling is higher, right? So changing the perspective as why am I going through this, or damn, things are not going my way, to okay, what can I learn from the situation? Maybe the lesson may not be to benefit me football wise, but what if it's making me a better man? What if it's putting me in a different mindset or a better mental state for myself down the road? What if this is just an opportunity to test my character? God puts you through things for a reason. You can elevate and you can grow, and you can change whatever you're doing that may be wrong. And I started changing my perspective from that when bad things or things weren't going my way. And I was definitely able to be a little more peace in myself.
Fair. That's fair. All right. So now I want to get into the fun part. So, bro, I got a chance to, look you up and check out your page, man. You got it cooking when it comes to
Yeah.
this trading thing, man. I know you kind of briefly touched on what caught your attention and how you caught the buzz, but man, yeah, take us down to this journey because the way that you're doing it is unique. Like I said, I'm familiar with people that do it, but it's like one, you're building a brand behind it, you got a message and a why behind it, and you're yielding results too. You know, give us some game, man.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, go ahead.
So trading, I just came off my first $100,000 month, man. That was big for me, right? Because trading itself is different because it's like you're going into a space where it's complete freedom, right? The hardest thing about trading is not actually looking at the charts or predicting what price is going to do. The hardest part is really just battling your emotions, right? We could both be in the same trade and two different outcomes are going to come because maybe, when you are in a trade, maybe you get scared and you get out of the trade early, or maybe, you see a little drawdown or pullback and you get out. But me, someone that's more experienced, I see it and I've accepted the fact that I can't lose, right? So trading itself, you're going into a space where it's complete freedom. There's no rules. There's no cap in how much you can make, and there's no cap on how much you can lose, right? So if you're not disciplined, and if you are not prepared to accept the failure that comes with it, and understand that everything in every trade that you put, that's just the price that you have to pay as far as getting into the game, then you can find yourself really losing lots of money. And the thing about me is, man, I've experienced everything. I tell people this, anybody that follows me, I lost my life savings twice chasing this, right? Everything literally that I had to my name, I've lost it, right? And I've built myself back into where I am now. But everything I went through, as far as those lessons, those have shaped me and has made me the man I am today. So, the good thing about trading is it's a lot of character development, right?
Let me cut you off real quick because I'm hearing a mentality. Did you adapt that mentality by trading, or is this an athletic mentality that you transferred over as a life skill that you now put into your trading career?
Both, right?
Okay.
I took the discipline that I had and the work ethic I had from football and my
Okay.
capacity of, okay, well, shit, just because I fail or just because shit's going left doesn't mean I'm going to fold under pressure. That athlete mindset, that's instilled with me, right? But now trading gave me the character development, right? How to handle losses, how to never get too high, right? How to not be so boastful about what I do, right? How to manage risk, how to really understand, the emotions I'm going through on a day-to-day basis. Trading taught me more about myself. Football gave me the hustle mentality, the discipline, and the work ethic to even get to the point where, I'm able to handle the stress that does come with trading.
Okay, I get it. So let's do this. Let's play as if I'm dumb and I don't know anything about trading because this is very fascinating. The reason why I wanted you on over maybe some others is because I feel that although this profession can often come off as shiny as fast money or whatever the case may be, but it's a real career and it's a real profession. And the people that are most successful are in it for the long haul. And I noticed you mentioned discipline. So if you can kind of break it down almost like an X's and O's for the upcoming high schooler that's listening, that's like, hey, I've been seeing it or considering it, but I don't want to just dive in deep, if you don't mind doing that.
Okay. So with trading, there's five different type of markets. And that's the hard part you have to decide. And there's pros and cons depending on what you're looking for and your current situation. So this forex, that's going to be the foreign exchange market, and what that is basically where you're buying and exchanging currencies. This is no different if you were to go to Mexico and exchange the US dollar for Mexican peso, or if you were to go to Europe and exchange the US dollar for a European dollar, right? Or euro. So we can buy and sell currencies, take advantage of a spread or take advantage of the fluctuations between those two currencies and make money from that. The next thing is going to be called options, right? You can trade options. That's where you're buying and selling contracts based off of companies and indexes. And you can get into calls, that's buys, or you can get into puts, that's sells. And basically you're buying a short-term contract from one of these companies and you're able to make money trading the actual analysis of the company, right? Whether you think it's buy, sell. The stocks, that one's not day trading, but that is a market where you can buy and sell companies, right? Day trading is futures, is also futures market, right? Basically, in that situation, it's the same kind of concept like Forex. The only difference is one, it's regulated, and two, it kind of has a mixture of options because you're buying and selling contracts as well too. And then obviously there's the crypto market. The crypto perceptual market is basically Bitcoin, Ethereum. You can take advantage of the day-to-day price action between those two.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Now, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, so I was saying, so okay, cool. So now there's pros and cons with both, right? Now options and stocks, it's only open 6 hours and 30 minutes out the day. So 8:30 a.m. Central, the market opens, and then basically it closes at 3 p.m. Central. So that's about 6 hours and 30 minutes. So you only have 6 hours, 30 minutes to trade during that time. Now, the benefits about Forex is it's 24 hours out the day. Now, why is that a benefit, right? It's a benefit because what if you have work from 8 to 9, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, right? It's going to
Yep.
be kind of hard to manage trading options, right, on the job. That's why Forex kind of makes sense. That's why I gravitated towards Forex first because I was able to navigate still, work going to work and still being able to trade at nighttime and fit it in my schedule. Same thing with futures, right? Futures and Forex is typically 4 hours out the day, so you can take advantage of that.
That makes sense. Now, so to get into trading, it seems like you have different options as far as in different products that an investor wants to dabble in. You mentioned crypto, you mentioned forex, you mentioned traditional stocks.
You know,
Does it make sense for someone to try to indulge in all, or should they start with one to get a grasp? What would be your best?
I
Yeah.
started with Forex. First, I
Okay.
started with Forex. Once I got the complete understanding of Forex, then I navigated into options and crypto. Right. I think if you focus on every single one, your mind is going to get too overwhelmed because trading itself is a lot of information. I would just focus on one. Once you have an understanding, complete understanding, learn how to leverage the other one and go into another one. Like for me, I trade the Nasdaq 100 on Forex, right? But as I continue to grow in the space, I understand that the Nasdaq 100 is the direct correlation of the QQQ when trading options, right? So the same moves that I'm taking on the Nasdaq, I can take those same moves trading options using the QQQ, right? So that's a blessing now. Why? Because now I can literally get into two different markets and build both accounts as opposed to just one account off the same analysis and same trade.
I get what you're saying. You can study, get your resources, your information from one source, but now make multiple moves in different markets based off of that one source of information. So you're leveraging too, based off of one
Yeah,
form of information.
exactly.
Smart, smart. Okay. Not to get in details on strategy, but I do want to have a conversation on approach. And like I said, and the reason why I'm positioning is because we know how youngsters are. We got to put ourselves in the shoes if we was 19, 20, right? We're a little bit more mature now. We can have patience to be more methodic or even strategic in our approach. And so, most students, especially student athletes, we're starting to see some now that may major in business, but you still don't even learn that when you're majoring in business. You don't learn it until you get thrown into the field and you get you a good mentor that can kind of teach you the ropes. And knowing that what I know about athletes, if it's something that sparks our attention, we go 100 miles an hour, towards it. What would be the best advice that you can give a student athlete that is interested in this from an approach standpoint, or how they should even approach this if it's something they wanted to get involved in?
Well, first thing is I always ask people, what's your reasoning, right?
Mhm.
Doing it because you need money? Are you doing it because maybe you want to learn the actual skill set? You want this to become a hobby, or are you doing this because you see the benefit in it and this is something you really want to pursue full time? Because depending on those three factors is the different approach, right? Let's say you're somebody that just wants to make a lot of bread and make some money, right? Then actually learning the skill set you really not really may not care for that, right? So at that point, you're looking from a short term perspective. Now, let's say you're somebody that's like, okay, well, hey, I really want to learn this, and this is something that I see myself truly doing. That's a different approach. Now I'll be thinking long term game. I'm going to focus on more of, hey, I'm going to start off with a demo account because it's not about the money right now. I'm going to just focus on making the right moves and the right decisions, right? I got some free resources. There's a lot of free resources online. You can literally go online and learn and practice, right? Just based off of that. So really, you got to ask yourself, what's your reasoning for even getting into the game? Once you understand that, then you can come with a better approach, right? If you want to slow things down, I would advise slowing things. If you're really trying to learn, slow things down, take your time and concepts to understand. Now, if you're just trying to make money, this is, you have to understand that one, you can lose, right? And two, from a perspective of, okay, maybe you just want to copy the best people. You see what I'm saying? Because those are just deciding factors that, make a big difference.
That's fair.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense, and I hope these youngsters get it. Um, in your journey, is for someone to know, even though now these athletes is getting paid, does it take a lot to start?
No, you can start off trading. So it depends on what market you get into. If you're in options, obviously it's going to cost a little bit more to get in. Those markets, you're going to need to make a brokerage account, stuff like that. It can maybe take, I'd say about $400 or $500 to start. Actually, but if you want to be sustainable with trading options, and trade every day, you're going to need about $25,000 to start because that's the bare entry limit. Now, Forex is a little bit different, right? The reason why I like Forex is because now you don't need that much capital. You just need $10. You can start trading today. You see what I'm saying? There's pros and cons depending on what market you get into, but I think Forex makes sense for people that are just beginners because it's a low barrier to entry.
I see what you're saying. Low barrier entry, it allows you to kind of learn without taking life-changing hits. You know what I'm saying? I get exactly what you mean. And then as you get, yeah,
Because if you start off on a demo account, people have this perspective where they think you need money to start. You don't need money to start. If you really want to learn, you can make a demo account, practice on the demo account, and then once you understand, you like what you see, and you made some money on the demo account, you upload money. The biggest mistake that I made is I didn't use a demo account when I first started. I went straight into the live because I was trying to make money, and shit, I ended up losing all that bread.
right, right, right. That makes sense. That makes total sense. All right. So now this is your profession, right? It is safe to say this is your profession. Now that you wake up, eat, breathe, sleep this thing, has you seen, I want to talk about your perspective. Has it shift? Are you in different rooms now? Do you associate with different people? Like kind of share that experience with.
So once my trading started going to the next level, I started getting connected with the right type of people as far as people that are on the same time, right? I have a lot of entrepreneurship friends, a lot of people that are business owners now. Again, I think it's just normal. If I see you're taking something serious and I'm seeing success with you, you're naturally going to start connecting with other individuals. You know what I'm saying? So now my friend group is filled with a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, people that really are trying to, take things up a notch. If that makes sense.
That does. That does. And are you now coaching and training others as well?
Yes, so I do have about 500 students that I work with. They're all my private group where I'm teaching them from point A to point B, showing them how to get started trading and how to do it at a fast rate. I think what separates me compared to most people is one, my results, and two, I'm actually showing you in real time what I'm doing, and then I'm
Mm,
telling you exactly what's going to happen before it happens. I think people are just not transparent in this industry, and I think that's why a lot of people are kind of gravitating towards what I do because I'm showing you everything: withdrawals, crypto portfolios, bank statements. I'm showing you how to do this from point A to point B, right? And then I'm calling the trades for you to make bread as well too. So I think that's what separates my group compared to most groups because I'm in the field with you, where I'm showing you, hey, I'm buying this, I'm getting this, here's this. People like that. People like to feel like they're with you in the field.
right. Right. That's what I was about to say. It sounds like you kind of have a do it with you, hands-on approach. Like I'm not about to just sit here on the top and just tell you what to do.
Nah,
If I'm about to make a mistake, you about to see it live.
no, that's not my vibe is always, me always. I just felt like I always think from my perspective, how do I learn, right? What's the best way for me to learn? And I always told myself, I'm always been hands on. Even when football, like running plays, I got to be hands on to understand it, right? So me, it just doesn't make sense. I never wanted to be one of those guys that just gets on a laptop, records a video, tells people, "Hey, you're on your own." I'm not like that.
Right.
That doesn't keep me motivated. What keeps me up every single day is, hey, I got people that depend on me. I got people that want to. I got to be on my P's and Q's every day, right? I think that right there for me, that's a blessing, right? Because now I get to wake up with something already in mind that I got to get done, and then on top of that, it makes me go so much harder.
So it seems like you understand the responsibility that comes with what you do. And because your background is sports, you have a coaching mentality on how you approach it versus some people's like, hey man, I got mine, I'm gonna give you this information, figure it out.
And I mean, it all stems again from sports. I thought to
Yeah.
myself, when I first started, I was calling trades with people and I tell them when to get in and the whole nine. I would be so nervous.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself one day, I said, I used to play in front of 100,000 people.
Right.
This is nothing. I'm sitting behind a screen telling people what to do. Like, I had to sit back and really be like, bro, God, thank you, Lord. Some days
Yeah.
I literally sit back and be like, yo, thank you. Because like what I do for a living sounds so crazy and insane because I'm, so much risk. But then
Yeah.
that's the best part about it, it's because I realize I can't do it on myself. I need God. I need to be locked in. I can't one day just wake up and say, oh, F everybody. Like people depend on what I do, and that motivates me every single day to go harder.
Nice. That's fair. Now, I don't want to put you in a box, but and I know, like you said, you over 500 students. How many of those are athletes that are trying to follow in your footsteps?
Actually, it's crazy. I'm getting a lot more athletes now. I would say maybe like 70.
Nice.
70
Nice.
college former athlete. Could be a little bit more. The reason, so a lot of athletes are starting to gravitate towards my program
Hmm.
because it's more like a football mentality. It's like, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do. I'm going to call the trade for you so you can see that. And then I'm going to teach you right after. Like, the discipline is there, and everybody from my group, they know. I'm just always going to keep it real. Win or lose, I'm gonna show you what I'm doing. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna explain to you so that way you can do it for yourself. I'm not keeping the gems. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
But I like to set athletes excel. A lot of my athletes excel in trading because once they understand how to take that same mindset from their sport and apply it to something that's actually going to generate a lot of money, or there's no complete ROI, it can do 10x. That's
Yeah.
a lesson.
And that's what I wanted you to hit on. Like I said, it's principles driven. And when you get an athlete, they already have those principles instilled. The hard part is just learning the skill set, and transferring those skills. And that's probably why you're seeing that result. And I'm glad that more athletes are starting to gravitate to that and doing it in an environment where it's they can kind of trust the person they learn from. Like, and I'm just speaking on how I was in the financial industry as well. And I just remember a lot of people they like to recruit athletes, but it was still felt like we were isolated, if that made sense, because of how we were hardwired. And in the perfect world, I wish that I was more mentored by an ex-athlete because they understand how we're hardwired, and I believe they would be better coaches or developers. So that's the reason why I'm excited about what you do in your approach, and even hearing it now. So, what I want to do next, because like I said, this goes out to athletes, man. If you can kind of share, man, how can they, follow you? How can they get on your program and learn from you?
Okay, so guys, I love doing what I do every day, right? What I do every day is a blessing, right? So I tell all athletes, all you have to do is give me a follow on Instagram. You can, I have a lot of free content on there as well too. I have a YouTube page where I do a free beginner's course. You can literally go to that. You can check that out, see if it's something you really want to do. It's a way for you to practice what I'm doing on your own. And then if you decide that you want more help and you want to kind of get the guidance as far as, a mentor, then you can kind of go through the application link in my bio so my team can reach out to you and give you some options. The thing about athletes, I tell people this, The hardest thing is you got to learn how to channel, you know, you have to learn how to channel the same work ethic that you had during sports, and all athletes have it, right? Because if you literally got to Division 1 or professional, you had to have it, right? You take that spirit and the same discipline and you just apply it into this skill set, you can find yourself in a really good situation, because the difference between athletes is they can handle failure. Failure is a part of the game. They understand losses come with the game. A lot of people aren't built like that. That's why I tell athletes trading is for you, right? Because you've already understand pressure. You know what it's like having a lot of eyes on you. You know what it's like where you have to perform on that certain day. You know what it's like when things are going left and you're losing. You know, right? Like that's who you are. That's your DNA. You just have to take it into the right vehicle. And the thing is, a lot of athletes, a lot of them are just uneducated, right? And again, I'm sure every one of my students learns why, what they're doing, right? And understand that, hey, if you take this serious, you would never have to work for somebody ever again. You know what I'm saying? But it's baby steps. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to wake up one day and, oh, I'm making $10,000 in one day, right? Yeah, you can, but the chances of that is very slim. There's a barrier curves that you have to go through in order to grow. And that's what I teach in my program.
Man, that's beautiful, bro. Great gems. I'm glad you gave that advice, and I'm glad it came from you, so they can get that perspective. Because a lot of time when they get this information, specifically when it comes to financial literacy, it's usually from someone that wasn't in that arena. So I'm glad. I know I'm going to share your information on my platform, but if you can, let us know where your platforms and where they can find your IG. You said you mentioned your YouTube, the name and the title of it.
Okay. So if you want to find me on Instagram, all you have to do is, it's at Legendary Drek, LegendaryDrec. And then if you want to find me on YouTube, it's Legendary Drek again, at Legendary Drek. And then TikTok as well too. So I'm like I said, all you gotta do is really just type in the name. Man, congrats. We just hit 50,000 followers, right? Through both
Nice.
Instagrams. It's crazy how fast things are moving, man. I'm blessed and thankful. It was at like 1,500 like 16 months ago. So to see, everybody following the wave, following what I'm doing, man, it's a true blessing, because this is something that I'm really passionate about.
That's dope. That's dope. Well, y'all heard it best, man. That was answers to the test right there, man. I'm glad I got an opportunity to interview you and get some perspective. Even though I'm familiar with your industry, I was able to even get some gems just from a strategy standpoint and everything from there. So I'm glad that you shared your knowledge on my platform. As promised, I told you I'll get you out in an hour, so I wanted to hold my promise. But
I
there
love
you
that.
have it, man. That's Derek, and he shared some information. You guys know where to find him. In the meantime, it's Coach J-Bo. Y'all know what I'm about to say next. Stay positive, stay productive, but most importantly, y'all stay in the presence. And we'll holler at you next time.
God bless you. Wish you the best.
Appreciate you on that one, man. Definitely.